and welcome to Downtime Activities. My name's Matthew, and today I'm going to be going over a character build in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Kind of. It's not a super in-depth character build where I'm going to break down an intricate multi-class or anything like that. It's really pretty simplistic, but it's the concept that I'm going for, and that is how to best make a Lord of the Rings style elf in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. And I think there's a lot of mindset on how to do this best that I don't think is right, and I think I found the way to make the most Tolkien style elf character. So let's check it out. I believe that when most players are thinking of trying to make an elf character in the style of a Lord of the Rings elf, they immediately gravitate towards Ranger. Specifically, Rangers like the Hunter Ranger seem to make a lot of sense. They are really kind of based off of a Legolas style character with dual-wielding short swords and being an expert at using the bow. And while that does work fairly well, I find it lacking and kind of wanting in terms of the broad scope of feeling like an elf a la the Tolkien world. The big things that feel missing for me are the kind of heightened abilities that the elves tend to have in this world. Things like being able to run faster, jump higher, move more acrobatically, hear better, have improved vision, all of these kinds of things. And while with some feats or other choices you can improve those as a ranger, I find that the best way to play that style of an elven character is actually to go with the monk. The monk naturally is really good at a lot of the things that feel like an elf from this world. They have the increased movement speed, they have the acrobatic ability, the ability to run up walls and things along those lines that really feel like that elf character, to me at least. Specifically, I think the Kinsai monk is an awesome choice if you're trying to capture that feel. With the Kinsai monk, you'll be able to use things like long swords and long bows effectively as part of your fighting style as that Kinsai monk. And you'll be doing so in a somewhat heightened sense as well, being both very good on the attack and defense, as well as being unerringly accurate with that longbow and hitting really hard with it. I think that their abilities work really well with this, and when combined with the elf, make for a character that just really feels like a Tolkien elf. Essentially, the way Kinsai works, when you get to choose it at 3rd level, you'll get to choose 2 weapons, one a melee weapon and one a ranged weapon. Like I said, longbow, long sword make a lot of sense, I think, in this situation. And you're going to get proficiency with those. You technically will probably already have it from being an elf, but that doesn't really matter. They become monk weapons for you, and that's the important piece. So you're going to be able to use all your monk abilities and kind of funnel them through these style of weapons. You'll also get the ability to kind of defend yourself as long as you're using melee attacks as part of your attacks with that longsword. And you'll have the improved damage from the Kinsai shot when using that longbow. You also can get some calligrapher supplies or painter supplies proficiency, which also really feels very Tolkien elf. That kind of artistic sort of vibe that they tend to have, I think, fits well with that ability. Later on, you'll be able to have magical weapon attacks, you'll be able to funnel your ki into dealing more damage, you'll be able to make your weapons gain bonuses to hit and to damage, and eventually you'll have the ability to every turn reroll a missed attack. And this all really matches that like long-lived, expert, artistic, fast-moving, fast-reacting sort of character. Also, as a monk, you're already going to have really high wisdom. As an elf, you're going to have the perception proficiency, and so you're going to be very perceptive, and that ability to see further with what your elf eyes can see will really match that sort of Tolkien elf vibe. As I said, this isn't really a build. This is more of a just bit of kind of spitballing and saying my idea of how best to make this elf. If you were to play this character, a couple of options for feats I would suggest taking would be Defensive Duelist as another kind of way to use your reaction to defend yourself. You're not going to be using a shield, so it'll give you some reaction AC bonus. I also think Fighting Initiate is a really awesome one, so you can really get that unerring accuracy feeling using the Fighting Initiate to take the ranged option, or any of the fighting style options that really fit for what your character is an expert at. Lastly, I would also just throw Mobile out here. Mobile is awesome. it's a really good feat for rogues in general. It'll make you even faster moving, it'll make it so that you can ignore difficult terrain, and it'll also give you the ability to not provoke opportunity attacks on creatures that you make melee attacks against. And that can make you seem like you're flying through a battlefield, and it's just really effective when combined with Monk and will feel like that expert, fast, quick-moving Elven-style character. Anything that gives expertise and perception is also a good call, whether that's a dip in another class or taking a feat to do so, as it'll make it so that you have that what your elf eyes see moment, which is kind of the whole point, right? That's a couple of feat suggestions I would give. Apart from that, though, honestly, I think that this will be best played out as a kind of straight 1 to 20 Kensai Monk. I wouldn't really suggest multi-classing. You could multi-class into Ranger to get some additional kind of nature knowledge and some additional ability with that longbow, some extra damage in the sort. You could also potentially multi-class into something like Rogue for some additional expertise and kind of one-on-one dexterity-based damage, things like that. You can really take it however you want. I just think Kensai as a base is the right way to build a Lord of the Rings elf. That has been my take on how to make a Lord of the Rings style elf in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Hope you found it useful. If you have your own way of doing this, making a Lord of the Rings, a Legolas, etc. style elf, please throw that down into the comments. If you're interested in this kind of content, please check out the rest of the channel. We have all sorts of 5th edition character builds, we have our Help Action series breaking down kind of specific 5th edition rules and going into depth on them, as well as our Bonus Action series, which is kind of just a casual conversation about RPG adjacent topics. Now go forth, slay dragons, sling spells, roll dice, and enjoy your downtime activities.